Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. I am Smokey, your host for this evening. Once again, Alex is not joining us. Will he ever again? Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But as for right now, we are headed into the divisional round of the NFL 2024/2025 season. And we just saw an exciting group of games in the wild card round. Now, before we jump into the divisional round, let's go back and look at our picks and see how that went. We only disagreed on one game last week. That was the Vikings and the Rams. Fortunately for me, I had the Rams. Alex picked the Vikings, and we know how that turned out at this point. The only other thing that we collectively got wrong, though, was the Chargers and the Texans games, which I feel like most of the world got that game wrong. I think almost everyone was on the Chargers, unless you are a Texans fan. But, didn't really work out like we expected, right? The Texans came out playing like their hair was on fire. They were ready to seal this up, and the Chargers just couldn't get it going offensively. Picks and whatnot ensued. 4 of them, to be exact. And that was the downfall of the Chargers in this game. Herbert regressed in a single game. Now, I'm not saying that Herbert is now bad in any way, because there's no reason to overreact to one game, even if it is in the playoffs. This team will be fine next year. They have a lot of growing to do. They really made it very far considering the offense they have on that team right now. Considering the pieces they have, they did really, really well this season. So, no reason to put a lot of distrust into the Chargers at this point. They're going to be fine going into next season. They draft well, add a few pieces. This team is going to be really good into the future. Texans, on the other hand, that was a blowout. Like I said, they played much better than they had been playing at the end of the season. It may come to an end this week. We'll see. The Steelers and the Ravens, we got that one right. The Ravens pretty much did the same things that the Texans did. Came out, played a really good game, played well defensively, played offense. I mean, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. This team is on fire, and I was saying it going into the playoffs that this team looks unstoppable at times, and they absolutely looked unstoppable here against the Steelers. Steelers, you're going to need some help going into next season. I know you made it to the playoffs, but there's a lot of improvements that need to happen on that team. You may have to sort out your quarterback situation. You may have to sort out your wide receiver situation. George Pickens is a hothead. He's a very aggressive guy. Is that going to work for the team, or is there going to continue to be conflicts? See what happens into the future. Broncos and Bills. Broncos, you had a great season. The Bills are just an unstoppable force at this point in time. I don't think it was any negative light on the Broncos, because much like the Chargers, they did very well for what they are working with. They are a very young team. They have a very young quarterback. Well, Bo Nix is not a very, very young quarterback, because he came into the NFL having played at least 5 or 6 years. I'd have to go back and look, but played for Auburn 3 to 4 years, played for Oregon twice. So either way, he was a rookie, and they did really well to get this far with a rookie. So usually quarterbacks that make it to the playoffs in their rookie season tend to end up being the franchise quarterback for quite some time and have a decent career. Happens over and over again. Bo Nix is probably their guy. Either way, the Bills were great. Let's go to the Packers and the Eagles. Packers, pretty much what happened to the Chargers. You throw a bunch of picks, you're not going to win the game. This is a very young offense right here. This is the youngest offense, and it may be the youngest overall team in the league right now. Packers have a lot of growing to do, but you did really well for this season. Give yourselves a pat on the back. The Eagles, yeah, I don't know what to make of the Eagles. To tell you the truth, I know they just beat the Packers. They're in the playoffs. They had a really good record. They still just don't look like world beaters to me. So I don't know how much farther you go. It's an enigma to me. You could make it to the Super Bowl. You could be knocked out in the divisional round. We'll see. Commanders and Bucks, that was a well-fought game. That was a hero ball game. That was a physical game. And the Commanders just edged them out in the end. Baker and Jaden Daniels kind of have a similarity, in my opinion. Quarterback styles, they are very similar, and also their path through college was somewhat similar. I think these two teams are pretty much on an even platform, and it's just whoever has the luck on that given Sunday. The Commanders had it this time. The Bucks get knocked out. The Vikings and the Rams. The Rams were on fire headed into the playoffs, and the Vikings were coming off of a tough beat. That's why I picked the Rams, and it worked out, and it was in LA. People say that the Rams don't really have a ton of fans, but it was still a home field advantage overall, and not a ton of people were driving from the frozen north down to LA to see this game. So Rams had the home field advantage. Matthew Stafford has been there before. He knows what to do in the playoffs. They just had the advantage over Sam Darnold and the Vikings, and they come away with the win. So that's 4 picks for me, 3 picks for Alex last week, bringing the total on the season 201 for me and 200 for Alex. Now we're going to get into this slate of games for this week, the divisional round. There's only 4 games, so this will be quick. Let's start with the Saturday games, the Texans and the Chiefs. Listen, this is one of those situations where we don't know why the Chiefs are that good when you watch the product on the field, but they always win. We've said this with the Patriots so many times. They don't look like the best team in football for most of the season, but they do show up in the playoffs. However, even through the season, they always win. It's just a crazy dynamic, I guess, when you have pieces that are that praised and there's that much attention on them. They feel like they have to win, and somehow they pull it off in the end. Texans, CJ Stroud, you guys had a great season. It's probably coming to an end here. You got to go to Kansas City. This would be a monumental task to try to pull off for the Texans to try to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the 2-time Super Bowl champions. They are the champions for a reason. They always win, regardless of how they play. They always win. I can't see the Texans pulling this off. It'd be cool to see if they do, just to throw a little bit of chaos, because this whole slate kind of looks like it might be a little chalk anyway. Try it, man. I wouldn't mind seeing the Texans win this one. Not that I have a huge rooting interest, other than wanting to see something different than the Chiefs constantly in the Super Bowl. It's Chiefs fatigue at this point. Patriots fatigue is over. Chiefs fatigue has set in. Want to see the Texans do it, but I can't pick them right here. I'm picking the Chiefs. Alex agrees with that. The Commanders and the Lions. Now, this is a game where a lot of America is rooting for these two teams, so we're all going to be torn on it. We like the Commanders. We like the Lions. Probably because they're not the Chiefs and they're not the Patriots. These are teams that are not known for just constantly winning after winning after winning, and they have young pieces that are exciting to watch. They have really prolific offenses that are exciting to watch, and they have great guys on the team that are worth rooting for, who give you a reason to pull for them. The Commanders, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, there's a ton of guys on this team that you enjoy watching, you enjoy hearing them talk, because they just feel like good people. So, makes it tough here, because the Lions also have that situation. No one hates Jared Goff, right? It's a team that the world is pulling for also because they are the perennial losers for so many years. Like, these past 2 seasons are basically the only thing in anybody's lifetime right now that is a Lions fan has ever seen anything like this. I hope that made sense, because that was kind of a wonky way of saying it. But Lions fans who are alive right now haven't seen anything in their entire life like they've seen in the past 2 years. It's kind of America's team right now. People want to see the Lions win. I've got them penciled in for the Super Bowl, so you can kind of tell my pick here. Alex is also picking the Lions. But it's still something about the Commanders that makes you go, yes, I want to see them win also. So whoever wins this game and whoever loses, most of America and probably most of the world is going to be torn here because you really don't know who to root for. I'm not really rooting for either one. I just have the Lions picked for the Super Bowl, but I like both of these teams. We'll stick with the Lions for right now. Alex got the Lions. Let's go on to the Sunday games, the Rams and the Eagles. Man, I say it over and over again. I just don't think the Eagles are as good as their record, but also they can't stop winning. They do it on the ground. Saquon Barkley had the season of his career this year, and they're probably going to keep doing it on the ground. We know that Jalen Hurts can use his feet. We know that Saquon Barkley is maybe the best running back in the league, and this game works on the ground. As evident by A.J. Brown reading a book on the sideline because he could not get passes thrown his way. They just don't need him. However, with the Rams coming to town, Matthew Stafford has been running an offense that is going to keep up with your offense. You're going to have to use the passing game in this one. That's the only way you're going to get it done against the Rams because that offense is potent. Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford are going to be connecting and scoring, and Kyren Williams is going to try to run all over you. It's tough to run on that Eagles defense. There's a bunch of huge guys from Georgia on that defense, especially on the line. The linebackers too, defensive end. Yeah, this team is loaded with Georgia players that can stop the run. That's what they've been trained to do. That's what they did in college. That's what they've been doing in the NFL. So Kyren Williams may struggle in this game right here. But Matthew Stafford is the wily veteran. He knows how to get past this. Probably going to be maybe not quite a shootout, but maybe one of those 20-23 type games where both teams look like they could take it. Just whoever happens to get the ball last is going to win. I think that's how this game goes down. Alex is picking the Eagles to take this. I think I'm going to stick with the Red Hot Rams. Very weird when this whole division was at 500, talking about the NFC West. When this whole division was at 500, I wouldn't have thought that at some point, some point this season, I'm going to be saying the Rams are red hot because no one in that division looked red hot. They were all just mediocre. But here the Rams are. They're here. I'm going to pick the Rams. Alex picking the Eagles. This is going to be our disagreement once again over the Rams game. Imagine that, a 49ers game, a 49ers fan, and we're disagreeing over the Rams. Makes sense, right? Man, this is the game of the week, and this is why this is on Sunday night in prime time. It is the Ravens versus the Bills. Wow. Possibly the two best quarterbacks in the league right here, fighting it out for MVP. Now, you could say the MVP has already been decided, but has it? I know we like to think that. It's a regular season award. Yes, of course. But the postseason plays into it. You can't take that factor away. They're not supposed to. You can tell them, no, don't base this on the postseason. But it's going to play a factor. Either way, you can't stop the people from having that final taste in their mouth of whatever happened in the playoffs. So, I think this right here will decide the MVP. Is it going to be Lamar Jackson? Is it going to be Josh Allen? Both of these offenses are on fire right now. This will be a shootout. The Rams and Eagles might not be a shootout. It's just going to be a good game. I believe this game will be a shootout. Both of these teams have fairly decent defenses, but both of these offenses are so potent that they are going to score touchdown after touchdown. I'm thinking both teams go well over 30 points here. And when I say well over, yeah, I'm going to say well over. maybe even 40 points each. Maybe a 70-point game here. It's possible. And I would like to see it. It's going to be an exciting matchup. I feel like after this game, whoever goes on to face the Chiefs, because they're probably beating the Texans, they might be a little beat up from this game because of how much energy they're going to have to pour into beating the opponent. With that being said, who do I want to pick? And who is going to win the MVP? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Most people know, if you've listened to me for quite some time, that the Bills are my second team. I am a Falcons fan, but I am also a Bills fan. I've liked the Bills since I was a little kid. And I'm going to stick with it. I do like Lamar Jackson. I like a lot of the pieces on the Ravens. I like Mark Andrews. I like Derrick Henry. You know, nothing bad to be said about Derrick Henry. But I'm sticking with the Bills. And Josh Allen has been doing more. You could say equivalent to what Lamar Jackson is doing. Josh Allen has been doing with less weapons on that offense. They don't have a dominant number one wide receiver. They don't have a dominant number one pass-catching tight end. They don't have a super dominant, I know James Cook is great. They don't have the super dominant running back like Derrick Henry. They just don't have that piece. Amari Cooper was sent over in the middle of the season, but he's not the Amari Cooper of old. They just don't have the pieces that the Ravens have. So, if the Bills pull this off, it's going to appear, and I think it will be, that Josh Allen is doing more with less pieces, making him more valuable to the team, and that is what the award is for. The most valuable player. If the Bills win this, it kind of proves, unless there's some crazy defensive struggle that happens here, it kind of proves that Josh Allen is more important, is more valuable to his team than even Lamar Jackson is. Josh Allen wins the MVP. The Bills win this game, go on to face the Chiefs. That's how we have it playing out. Alex agreed with that. Well, that's about it for this week. That's all 4 games. We are winding down the season here. Maybe we can get Alex in next week or before the Super Bowl, and we can run down some honors. We can talk about the all-pro teams. We can talk about all-rookie teams. I like talking about that kind of stuff because we have a ton of rookies in the NFL that have excelled this year. Feels like more than any other year, the rookies came through this one. It has been a gradual lead up, though. It feels like every year, more and more rookies play bigger parts in the NFL. But now we just have a ton. And I think we could put together an all-rookie team that could almost go toe-to-toe with any of these teams in the playoff. It's all theoretical. It's all hypothetical. But it's something that would be fun to talk about. So, if Alex ever gets in here, maybe we'll talk about something like that. We'll talk about the honors. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. Unless I'm just alone talking about the Super Bowl. Possibly. Hey, if you like this stuff, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. For Alex, I am Smokey. We will see you next week. Deuces.